Americans, the war drums are beating louder than they ever have for war with Iran and a, quote, U.S. strike, that means a banker strike through our military against Syria after they've sent in al-Qaeda to destabilize the country. It is crazy, the amount of off-the-chart news and information that we're going to be covering here on this Tuesday, 21st day of August, 2012, worldwide broadcast. And we are going to, again, be here for the next 3 hours. Here is the news that we have in front of us. Netanyahu determined to attack Iran before U.S. elections, claims Israel's Channel 10. TV reporter adds, I doubt Obama could say anything that would convince the prime minister to delay a possible attack. Continuing, war with Iran appears more imminent. New American Magazine. WorldNet Daily, when Israel strikes Iran in October, by Joseph Farah. BBC, Obama warns Syria chemical weapons use may spark U.S. action. What have we been saying for a month? They're going to have a false flag claiming Syria used chemical weapons. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, our criminal government run by foreign banks publicly runs al-Qaeda. There's an article by Tony Cardalucci up at Infowars.com with that. U.S. desperation services in Syria. But I don't say U.S. We're a proxy state that is used by the globalists who are busy destroying all nation states as fast as they can. So that is just some of what is coming up. Again, Global Research, Professor Chosadowski, Israel's war plans to attack Iran before the U.S. election. It's just coming out of all these sources. We're going to be breaking it all down today. Also, Russia, China warn West against Syrian intervention, saying it would violate international law, and saying that they're not going to stand by and watch that happen. You know, the Russia and China have vetoed. And again, it's not that I'm siding with Russia and China. My government's gone. It was captured by foreign banks who brag that they've captured the country. But it is the bankers through the United States, Western Europe, England, NATO, that are menacing and sending in proxy jihadis, al-Qaeda, Wahhabist, murdering the Christians, the Jews, the Alawite Muslims. I mean, it's incredible. It's so off-the-chart immoral. And the prostitute corporatist media plays off the ignorance of the American people and others and is like, yeah, we gotta go into Libya and Syria because al-Qaeda. They actually say because al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, Gaddafi's with al-Qaeda, Assad's with al-Qaeda. I mean, that's how dumb they think you are. Like when Bush said that Sunnis were Shiites, and Mohammed Karzai said, no, sir, they're two different groups. And he said, no, they're not. It wasn't that Bush was wrong. He wasn't making a mistake. He was throwing it in everyone's face, flaunting it, destroying reality, poking holes in it. The world economy is being imploded by design to establish the global corporate banking monopoly government. The New World Order, Agenda 21. And I told you, when they try to put the capstone on the pyramid, they're going to launch giant wars. Big uns. And that's what they've got the martial law ready for, is the wars and the collapse and all of it. And they're going to tell the public, just do what you're told during the crisis. And when order is restored, everything will be okay. But that's not the case. And I hope there's ways to back this off. But you see everything converging. The election, these conflicts, these larger wars, the world lining up, squaring off, all of this. So the Russians are their own corrupt system. The Chinese are more merged with the globalist, but it's kind of a Mexican standoff there where both sides are balancing, against each other. But basically it's globalists who just opportunistically are playing all of these different factions off against each other, and they win out of the chaos, and they get to pose as the saviors. And their puppet minions get higher approval ratings once this happens and can take liberties. And then they can stage terror attacks or open the door for people to attack and then use that to crack down on the general public. I told you over a decade ago they'd shift from al-Qaeda to conservatives, libertarians, gun owners, veterans. And you saw it then come out in the government documents. I told you the Army would start claiming, because it was in ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center propaganda, and some of their fronts were putting it out, that the Tea Party was going to link up with al-Qaeda. That's now in major Army training battle plan scenarios. Yes, they say that in North Carolina, the Tea Party is going to radicalize and merge with al-Qaeda. And illegal aliens. I forgot that part. I mean, that's like saying that the lamb will lie down with the lion. I mean, it's like saying Superman is Lex Luthor. I mean, it is Lax Luthor, whatever his name is. It is so ridiculous. Ridiculous. But this is what they're going to do. And more, it looks like they're getting ready to pull the trigger on this. I hope we can back them off. And there still may be a miracle. But I want to hear from all of you on this topic. Do you think everything's going to be okay? Do you think this is all just more saber rattling, which I hope it is? You know, they had 3 different Joint Chiefs of Staff chairmen, 2 different heads of CENTCOM basically resign in the last decade over not wanting to go to war with Iran. There's been a lot of people have held back this madness. They've had Mossad chiefs resign or fired over it. They've had the head of the IDF say it's not a good idea. I mean, you know it's bad when even the hawks in Israel don't want to do this, because it'll be bad for Israel, but it'll be good for the New World Order. You better believe this crisis is going to hurt every nation state. Iran, Israel, Lebanon, the United States, Europe, everywhere. This will be used as the political cover. They always do this, World War I, World War II, at the beginning of or right at the end of an economic crash. This is what you have. You have the imploding economy, the looting, and then a war. Collapse and war, or war and collapse. They all circle each other. Birds of a feather fly together. So I want to hear from you on this subject, quick and fast, and your take, where you think we're going, what all these giant preparations, the 400 million rounds of ammo, the armored pillboxes, the Army manuals for re-education camps. I mean, wow. And they set the precedent. Well, I've seen it at UT lectures where the former CIA director, Woolsey, says, we'll put all the Muslims in camps. All Muslims in America in camps. And a lot of people are like, yeah, that sounds good. It's going to be you that's in that camp. You, wearing the John Deere hat, listening in Alabama right now. You, Hank Williams Jr. You are the target of this. And they use tribalism, your ancient ingrained tribalism of, there's a foreigner, doesn't look like me. Arr, let me growl. Because instinctively, the threat humans have always faced is the tribe from over the hill or from across the sea that comes and usurps you. I understand it. I get the primitive systems. People who looks like them, who smells like them, who talks like them. That's just culture. That's what humans are. We're tribalist, period. And the globalists manipulate that. That's what divide and conquer is. A bunch of tribes fighting with each other. Instead of having a tribe that is for liberty and justice and human equity and freedom and creativity and the rule of law and science and honor and loving God and not having these churches superimpose themselves in front of it. That's what we're talking about here. And we've got to decide whether we want good or evil. Because no one can deny the world is hurtling towards disaster. There's already disaster worldwide, starvation, death, exploding food prices, riots. We live in a tiny island that, even though it's began to sink, is still the highest point in the world, other than Switzerland. We live on an island here in the United States, in Canada, in places like Scotland, places like even areas of Ireland, places like Switzerland. We live in islands of good, strong, common law, common sense culture. And all around us is absolute bedlam intensifying. And the globalists want to take America out in the final equation and bring in a tyranny here. And to do that, they want to start a civil war in this country. They plan to train the police and military and hype them up and teach them that their main enemy, like training an attack dog, is gun-owning libertarian conservatives. That's why they seize on every cop killing, even though they're rare. They search their computer files. of even associates of the reported killers, this case in Louisiana. And then they find one of them who's visited my website and come out with the headlines, the ADL yesterday, Alex Jones. Alex Jones. You know, these guys loved Alex Jones. Why is that? Because the globalists understand that I'm aware of their game plan, and they hope that you don't catch on to it. They want to get a civil war going between the police, the military, and the citizens, which will chew up the police and military and further radicalize them into a real terrorist force. Then they'll get out the old guard, bring in the new guard with mercenaries and foreigners they train for in NLE-09, you name it. We're going to be breaking that down today. But first, I want your take on what I've said here, and I'll get into some of the incredible geopolitical developments as well. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. The websites are prisonplanet.tv, infowars.com, prisonplanet.com. We got some big announcements today as well. Very important transmission. We'll be right back on the other side of this quick break, and we will go to your phone calls directly. Is it going to be World War III, financial collapse? The globalist orchestrated the build-up to World War I to destroy the old order in Europe and bring in this corporatist British Empire model through corporate governance. They've written books on it. Carol Quigley's written about it. They brag about it. They engineered World War II. Hitler didn't work for them, but they funded him. They psychologically profiled him. They set him up. They gave him the funding and then knocked him down after he wrecked Europe, just like they funded the Soviets. The people running our government created Al-Qaeda. They created the Russian Soviet. They created the Nazis. They are the eugenicists. They are the full-spectrum dominance science guild who cold-bloodedly see us as like rats or bacteria in a petri dish. That's how they describe us. Well, I don't like it. And I had a caller yesterday who said, what is the point of debating Romney and Obama and who's the lesser of two evils when they're chemtrailing us, when the GMO, when the cancer rates are exploding? And it's true. The reality is so much more wild than even debating whatever the news is. But let me tell you something. War is a big deal because that's what they bring in to sell giant change. And the fact that it looks like the light is going green again, it went green last year for a little while, but there were a lot of news reports coming out that it was made-up news stories, that the Iranians were going to attack the Saudi embassy and all that, and it got backed off again. But believe me, if there is an opposition to this Iran strike and going into Syria, I told you 6 months ago they'd start calling for boots on the ground and bombing. Now they are. Told you what would happen in Libya. People are like, oh, they're not going to bomb. Oh, they're not going to invade. What happened? I mean, this is a big globalist move. And remember, they hate all sovereign nations. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Assad, Iran, U.S. The globalists are busy using us to destroy their enemies while they enslave us. And nothing is better than a war. So we need to not have a civil war with the police and military. We do not need, at the drop of a hat, in my view, if the police show up at your house, shoot them. We do not need to do that. We do not need to go into war mode. And look, the globalists have pushed people into this. I would tell the police, too, I would back off. I mean, we just do not need to have this happen. We need cooler minds to prevail here. Let's go to your calls, as I promised. Bob in Michigan, first caller, welcome.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I really think you've hit the nail on the head here, certainly. You and a lot of other talk show people have really done a good job in exposing this, and keep doing that, because that they don't like the light of day. They don't like the truth like Ron Paul is giving us. I think our best export from this country, honestly, is our Constitution and working together as a people, no matter where you're from, I'm only a second generation off the boat, Ellis Island, the whole thing.